And it's also a very big object, much more than we expected, because the previous ones were a million times less massive. Both of these are fundamentally difficult.
Something unusual is unfolding in the world of astronomy, and it's pushing scientists into uncomfortable territory. Over the last few weeks, amateur astronomers with simple backyard telescopes have been publishing images of 3I/ATLOS that look sharper, clearer, and far more detailed than anything NASA has released. Not just a little better, dramatically better. One photographer, using equipment you could buy off the shelf, captured images showing distinct jets, geometric structure, and features that NASA's billion-dollar instruments are supposedly unable to resolve. Independent observers across Europe posted frames revealing 7 separate directional jets, stretching tens of thousands of kilometers into space. Jets that look organized, stable, and consistently repeating. Chuck's astrophotography even shared a color-enhanced image so detailed it made researchers stop scrolling. You could see a bright central core, a strong forward emission, and layered structure in the coma, all from gear that fits in the trunk of a car. Meanwhile, NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, equipped with the high-resolution imaging science experiment, the same camera that captures sharp textures on the Martian surface from hundreds of miles away, released a soft, washed-out blur, a faint blob that barely shows a nucleus. The difference is impossible to overlook. And now scientists are openly asking a question no one expected. How are amateurs producing better images than NASA? If you're wondering what's actually going on with 3I/AT/LAS and why the clearest images are not coming from official channels, make sure you're following along. Because what independent astronomers are uncovering isn't just better photography. It's raising serious questions about transparency, strange anomalies, and why NASA's recent press conference felt more like damage control than a genuine briefing. So let's start with what NASA did show. In late October, the agency held a highly promoted press conference, advertised as the moment the public would finally get high-definition images of 3I/AT/LAS. Something unusual is unfolding in the world of astronomy, and it's pushing scientists into uncomfortable territory. Over the last few weeks, amateur astronomers with simple backyard telescopes have been publishing images of 3I/AT/LAS that look sharper, clearer, and far more detailed than anything NASA has released. Not just a little better, dramatically better. One photographer, using equipment you could buy off the shelf, captured images showing distinct jets, geometric structure, and features that NASA's billion-dollar instruments are supposedly unable to resolve. Independent observers across Europe posted frames revealing 7 separate directional jets stretching tens of thousands of kilometers into space. Jets that look organized, stable, and consistently repeating. Chuck's astrophotography even shared a color-enhanced image so detailed it made researchers stop scrolling. You could see a bright central core, a strong forward emission, and layered structure in the coma, all from gear that fits in the trunk of a car. Meanwhile, NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, equipped with the high-resolution imaging science experiment, the same camera that captures sharp textures on the Martian surface from hundreds of miles away, released a soft, washed-out blur, a faint blob that barely shows a nucleus. The difference is impossible to overlook. And now scientists are openly asking a question no one expected. How are amateurs producing better images than NASA? If you're wondering what's actually going on with 3I/AT/LAS and why the clearest images aren't coming from official channels, make sure you're following along. Because what independent astronomers are uncovering isn't just better photography. It's raising serious questions about transparency, strange anomalies, and why NASA's recent press conference felt more like damage control than a genuine briefing. So let's start with what NASA did show. In late October, the agency held a highly promoted press conference, advertised as the moment the public would finally get high-definition images of 3I/AT/LAS. Their European observations revealed something astonishing: 7 distinct jets radiating from the nucleus. These weren't chaotic random plumes. They were directional streams extending more than 20,000 kilometers into space. Some jets pointed away from the sun, exactly what you'd expect due to solar wind pressure. But others pointed toward the sun, and one even fired at a right angle, completely perpendicular to the sun's direction. Avi Loeb, the Harvard physicist known for questioning traditional assumptions about interstellar objects, reviewed these images and pointed out something unusual. The jets looked too organized to be the result of natural outgassing. His calculations suggested that for an object to produce jets this long, this stable, and this consistent, it would have to shed about 13% of its total mass in a very short time. That level of mass loss doesn't fit standard comet behavior. Natural sublimation usually creates irregular, chaotic bursts of gas, not clean, stable jets that hold their shape for tens of thousands of kilometers. And this leads to a serious technical problem. Earlier measurements showed 3I/8TEL-AS rotating once every 16 hours, very typical for a comet. But if it's spinning at that speed while releasing material, long exposure images should show the jets smeared into arcs or spirals. The rotation should drag the gas across the sky, creating curved plumes or blurry diffuse clouds. But that's not what the amateur images show. Instead, they reveal narrow, sharply defined columns, straight jets with remarkably consistent structure. No spirals, no blurring, no smearing, just precise, stable lines. Loeb suggested only two explanations. The object's rotation has slowed dramatically since initial measurements. An odd scenario, because uneven outgassing usually increases a comet's spin, not reduces it. Or the volatile ices are positioned in extremely specific, localized areas, spots that only vent gas when they're facing the sun at very precise angles. Both explanations strain credibility. Natural comets don't usually slow their rotation while actively venting gas. And it's even harder to imagine ice pockets arranged with such geometric precision that they produce laser-straight jets stretching tens of thousands of kilometers. That's simply not how frozen rock and ice behave after drifting through space for millions, or even billions, of years. Then comes the brightness anomaly. As 3I/8TEL-AS approached perihelion, it brightened far beyond what any model predicted. Not a little, about 4 times brighter than the most optimistic forecasts. Data from SOHO, STEREO, and other solar observatories confirmed the jump. The object shifted from a dark reddish tone, typical of a carbon-rich asteroid, to a vivid blue-green as it made its closest pass to the sun. That color shift signals intense outgassing of diatomic carbon and potentially other volatile materials. The blue hue requires high levels of ionization, temperatures and processes that usually destroy cometary material, not preserve it. Yet 3I/8TEL-AS remained intact. It didn't fragment during perihelion, even though it was releasing enormous amounts of material at speeds high enough to fight against solar wind pressure. Standard sublimation models can't explain this level of activity unless the object's surface area is far larger than Hubble's earlier measurements suggested for the nucleus. So when NASA finally held their press conference, scientists expected a serious discussion about these anomalies. The directional jets, the unexpected brightness surge, the rotation issue, the dramatic color changes. Instead, NASA delivered a bland surface-level summary. General comments about interstellar objects, a vague acknowledgement that 3I/8TEL-AS showed interesting behavior without saying what that behavior actually was. No mention of the 7 jets documented by amateurs. No explanation for the 4-fold increase in brightness. No discussion about why the object's chemistry seemed to shift so drastically during perihelion. The presentation felt less like scientific transparency and more like controlled messaging, recognizing the object's existence while sidestepping the details that make it truly anomalous. And the strategy backfired because while NASA played it safe, amateur astronomers continued posting images that showed precisely the features NASA avoided addressing. This isn't the first time NASA's imaging of an interstellar object has left people disappointed. When Oumuamua passed through in 2017, the official images were similarly blurry and low resolution. Nothing like the detailed renders and simulations later produced by independent researchers. That pattern has led some to suspect the agency is reluctant to release high-definition imagery when an object doesn't fit conventional explanations. That may sound conspiratorial, but look at the facts. NASA has instruments capable of photographing rocks, dunes, and ice deposits on Mars with razor-sharp precision from hundreds of kilometers away. Yet those same instruments somehow can't resolve clear structure on an interstellar visitor. And that brings us to the question more people are starting to ask aloud. But when HiRISE was pointed at 3I/O-S, it produced nothing more than a diffuse, blurry blob. Either the instrument suddenly underperformed, highly unlikely considering its flawless track record, or the way the data was processed and released involved decisions that went beyond pure technical limitations. Meanwhile, independent astronomers continued filling the gaps. Paul Craigs has been publishing multi-night observations showing consistent structural features under different viewing conditions. His meticulous calibration and use of multiple filters reveal geometric details that don't appear in any official NASA release. Chuck's astrophotography also transformed live footage into color-graded images that reveal jets, layering in the coma, in a distinct central structure. Images clear enough to surprise even professional researchers. And these aren't lucky one-off shots. They're the result of dedicated observers using long exposures, advanced stacking methods, and careful processing to extract every bit of detail their equipment can provide. What makes these observations significant is their consistency. Multiple independent observers using different equipment from different parts of the world are all capturing the same structures. That's not anecdote, that's replication. That's how raw observations become accepted scientific data. This widening gap between amateur images and NASA's official releases raises tough questions about transparency in a time when technology has leveled the playing field. For decades, space agencies like NASA held near total authority over astronomical data. If NASA said something looked a certain way, that was considered the definitive answer. But modern equipment has changed everything. Today, backyard astronomers can collect imagery that rivals or even surpasses what official sources publish. And with global platforms for instant sharing, information spreads whether institutions are ready for it or not. This democratization is healthy for science. Independent verification is a core principle of the scientific method. When amateurs can verify or challenge the findings of professionals, it keeps the system honest, but it also creates tension. Institutions built around controlling the flow of information now face a public capable of observing the universe directly, without waiting for an official narrative. And when official releases don't match what independent astronomers are capturing, public trust begins to erode. Private conversations in research circles show frustration on both sides. Some NASA scientists quietly admit that the amateur images reveal structural details their official releases gloss over. But they cite internal review pipelines, data validation procedures, and strict communication protocols that slow or heavily filter what reaches the public. Amateur astronomers disagree. They argue that raw imagery doesn't need months of vetting before being shared, especially when the observations are consistent, repeatable, and independently confirmed around the world. Avi Loeb has been far more outspoken. He said plainly that NASA should be emphasizing the anomalies, not avoiding them. The directional jets, the unexpected brightness surge, the rotation inconsistencies. These are features that deserve direct analysis, not vague summaries. Instead, NASA's public messaging has been cautious to the point of evasive, acknowledging that 3/A/ATLAS exists while sidestepping the details that make it scientifically extraordinary. And 3/A/ATLAS isn't the only object behaving strangely. Comet C/2025 R2, SWAN, recently developed an anti-tail, a stream of material appearing to point toward the sun rather than away from it. Anti-tails are not impossible. They happen when large dust grains spread along the comet's orbit, and Earth's viewing angle makes them appear sunward. But they're rare. Seeing two comets exhibit unusual sunward structures in the same observing season raises eyebrows. Is it coincidence? Or are current solar conditions triggering behaviors we don't fully understand? At the same time, C2025K1 Atlas, unrelated to 3I Atlas despite the similar name, is breaking apart as it approaches the Sun. Images show at least 4 fragments, each shedding material as they spiral towards solar destruction. This multi-body breakup is scientifically valuable, offering a live example of how comets end their life cycles. But it also complicates impact modeling. A fragmented comet hitting Earth or the Moon wouldn't produce a single crater. It would create a cluster of impacts, potentially far more destructive than traditional single-body assumptions. The tension between amateur observations and official releases matters because it shapes public confidence in scientific institutions. But if agencies respond with silence or overly cautious messaging, it can fuel unnecessary conspiracy theories. The solution is simple: share the data, discuss the anomalies, be open about what we do and don't understand. Acknowledge what's unexplained instead of downplaying it. 3I/A/AS is genuinely unusual. The jets are directional. The brightness surge exceeded every prediction. The rotation behavior doesn't match standard models. None of these facts automatically point to anything exotic, but they do justify rigorous, transparent investigation. 3I/ATLAS is now heading away from the Sun, dimming as it climbs back toward interstellar space. Within a few months, it will be too faint for most telescopes to follow. But the data already gathered will be studied for years. Spectroscopic readings, refined orbital models, thermal analyses, chemical profiles, and the countless amateur images that captured features official sources either couldn't or didn't highlight. That's the new reality of modern astronomy. Information no longer flows in one direction. Authority isn't guaranteed by institutional status. It's earned through transparency. NASA still has a choice. It can adapt by embracing openness, releasing raw data quickly, collaborating with independent observers, and engaging with the same community responsible for much of the public enthusiasm. Or it can continue relying on cautious, filtered messaging while amateurs repeatedly outperform official releases and public trust continues to slip. Because the truth is simple: 3I/ATLAS has already revealed which approach yields better science. And it's not coming from billion-dollar spacecraft. It's coming from dedicated observers with backyard telescopes, people who care enough to look closely and share what they see.